And we're back here on SportsLine. Phone line still open, 737-7767 if you'd like to get in on the conversation. Again, as we move into this final week of the preseason, the big storylines are going to be roster battles, positions up for grabs. And we saw yesterday Mike Mularkey named Quentin Spain the starter at left guard moving into the season. That O-line played well. They gave him somewhat of a challenge last week after he did not play well in the Carolina game. That, look, if you want to start, you have to elevate your game each and every week to be a starter in this league. We thought we might see Jeremiah Patasi last week, but that offense was clicking so much. Spain was doing his job, and then they had that long drive at the end of the first half. They did well, and Patasi never got the opportunity. Spain wins the job there. And I think you feel pretty comfortable with this unit moving into the regular season, at least as comfortable as you felt about a Titans offensive line for some time. Other interesting spots on the offense to me are who's the fifth wide receiver on this team. I think it's Andre Johnson. If you keep a sixth, I think it's Trey McBride because of his value on special teams and not Justin Hunter, which may hurt some Vols fans out there. But I don't think can come as that big of a surprise if you've watched the Titans over the last 4 years. The running back battle for that third spot, going to be interesting. I think I give a slight edge to Antonio Andrews right now, although personally I'd like to see them give Bishop Sankey another opportunity because when you talk about a game breaker, and we mentioned Antonio Andrews' speed earlier, that's what Sankey has. Now, he hasn't delivered in his first 2 years in this league, but the Titans haven't exactly put him in a position to succeed either. They've abandoned the run game more times than not. Thanks, Ken Wisenhunt. They didn't have a great offensive line, and they put him back there and said, go do what you can. I think Bishop Sankey has the potential to be better than what we've seen. And now he's not the workhorse. He's not the bell cow back. That's what Murray and Henry are. So he can be a change of pace back. I think he gives you the biggest change of pace of those backs. So if it were me, I go with Sankey. But like I said, I think Andrews has the edge, at least right now, because of some of those other things that he can do. Tight end's also interesting. Now that Big Cat, Craig Stevens, is retired, what do you do there? It's Delaney Walker and Anthony Fasano, obviously. I think Philip Supernaw is on this team. Does Alex Ellis make the team now? Does Jerome Cunningham make the team? Do you find another tight end out there? Defense, you got some battles as well. Depth battles to figure out who's going to make this roster. So it's going to be very, very interesting as we move through this final week and then the final preseason game Thursday night in Miami. And the reason for all these interesting position battles, roster spot battles, is because John Robinson came in and he said right on day number one, I want to build the most competitive, tough, 90-man football roster that we can find. Because if we can put 90 competitive guys into training camp, we will find the best 53 for the regular season. And that's something that I've covered this team through 6 training camps. In the past, that wasn't always the case. Roster spots 70 to 90 at times have just been bodies. They haven't always been guys to push other guys, to compete for spots. This year, they had guys competing for spots, competing for jobs and their livelihood. And that, to me, that credit goes to John Robinson. That was his vision, and his bold moves in the offseason did that, bringing in DeMarco Murray. The trades he made, the draft trade of the number 1 pick that allowed him to pick up a haul of picks throughout the draft. Yeah, you get Jack Conklin. Yeah, you get Derrick Henry. But you also get a guy like Austin Johnson. You also pick up a couple guys later on in the draft because of that trade. And next year, there are going to be more picks based off of that trade. He deserves a ton of credit for that. He has upped the talent level, signing Andre Johnson right before training camp. Free agent addition of Rashard Matthews. Well, those are 2 guys of probably your top 5 receivers this year. They're going to make an impact. Tajay Sharp's going to make an impact. He was a 5th-round draft pick, folks. John Robinson has made a huge impact with the Titans so far. And last week, before they headed out to Oakland for the 3rd preseason game, I had the opportunity to speak with John Robinson and ask him just how close, when he walked in the door when he was hired in January and said his goal was to make the Titans, his home state team, relevant again, and it was going to start by creating the most competitive 90-man roster he could possibly find, and then build a team off of that competitiveness and off of that toughness. After that, I asked him, how close did you get to that vision? How close is this team on this field right now to the competitive, tough-minded, easy-to-coach football team that was your goal? Take a listen.
We're getting closer. We're constantly watching the waiver wire, seeing if anybody comes available that think we can add into the mix to make us more competitive. But the guys have really come out and bought into the philosophy that we want to be, and they're competing at every practice.
Both you and Mike Mularkey said you wanted to build a physical, tough-minded football team. When they came out and ran for 288 yards against the Chargers, how satisfying was that?
It was one step towards where we want to be. It's a tribute to the coaches and the players for coming out and buying into the philosophy and playing, stylistically what we want to be.
You're out here right in the middle of some of these drills, so maybe some of that toughness comes from you. As a general manager, how much do you appreciate the up-close and personal time on the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for me. It's good for the players to see me involved and talking to them during drills and after good plays and being a positive encouragement to them if they have a bad play. So I like to interact with them to let them know that I'm there for them.
You made a big move last week, trading Dorial Green-Beckham to the Eagles for Dennis Kelly. I'm sure you never want to give up a 2nd-round pick in just his 2nd season. So what was it that convinced you that that was a good move?
Yeah, I think in the end, we thought it was best for the football team. We said back in January when we took over that we wanted to protect Marcus and be able to run the football. And adding Dennis into the mix is going to help us do that. He's played a lot of good snaps up in Philly, started 15 or so games, I think. He'll certainly, fit in and help us.
You mentioned Marcus. It's hard to believe he's actually had somewhat of an under-the-radar preseason compared to last year at this time. You studied him in college. You studied him and worked him out last year in Tampa Bay. Now that you've been up close and personal with him, though, what have you learned about him as the leader of this football team?
You hit it right there. His leadership skills. He's got really good command, not only of the offense, but of the team as a whole. He commands the other guys' respect, and with his work ethic and his performance out here at practice, he's earned it.
Lastly, John, you spent 8 months building this roster. Now, over the course of the next week or so, you have to take it down to 53. How grueling of a time will this be for you as the GM?
There will be a lot of back and forth discussions with Mike and I and with the coaches and with the personnel staff just about fits and roles for players on the football team. Again, I think it is a really competitive roster, and we've got some tough decisions ahead.
Tough decisions ahead with Mike Mularkey and the scouting staff, coaching staff over at St. Thomas Sports Park because of the competition he has created. They got to get down to 53 as they get set for the regular season. There's going to be some big names. I mean, I think there were people who were surprised yesterday when you saw Pato Atua and Ray Wilson and Mount on that waiver wire. And there will be some more names out of St. Thomas Sports Park over the next week that people are going to shake their head and say, wow, I can't believe they parted ways with that guy. That's going to happen this year, and that hasn't happened for a while, and that's a credit to John Robinson and the guys he's brought in and the competition he's instilled in this Titans team, and that can only make them better. Time for a quick break. When we come back, we can get to more of your phone calls. Wide open bank of lines at the moment. 737-7767 is the number. And something interesting happened during the national anthem the other night in San Francisco. It has become a big story. My take on Colin Kaepernick's stand coming up. Stay tuned. More SportsLine on the way.